Welcome back. If you don't know who I am, my name is Edith, and I like to read books and yab about them to you guys. Today, it's March. It's been March, but it is March 12th. And in March, I've been feeling something. I've been feeling my personality coming back. The sun is shining. Right now, it's halfway shining and halfway clouded. Yesterday, it was really clouded and rainy. But before that, we had a couple days where it was hot enough to lay outside in the sun. And that means one thing. It means spring is coming. Today's video is going to be a little sit down kind of TBR video, which I don't do TBRs. I started out on TikTok doing TBRs, but they kind of landed me in a reading slump. So I've made it a rule. I am not going to make a monthly TBR or anything because I feel better just reading what I want to read. So it's hard enough sometimes to force myself to read 3 specific books for a video. So this is actually a spring/summer TBR, which just means all of these books have to be read, or they're I really want to read them before August ends. So that leaves me plenty of time to do it, and that is the kind of TBRs I like, where it's like these books fit into the vibe of the time, but it's also like there's no stress and I have time to throw in other books if I want to and stuff. Whatever. I have a TBR here, which is a spring and summer TBR. Some of these are because they feel summery or like spring, and some of them are just because I'm very excited to get to them. So I have this video split into 4 sections. I have a physical, a reread, which is also kind of physical, Kindle, which they should all be on Kindle Unlimited, and new releases. I don't have that many new releases that I know I'm going to have to buy because I'm broke. And yet I have some books that I know I will buy no matter what. So, to make it easy for myself, we're going to start with the pile of physical books I have in front of me. So, the first 2 are actually very outside of my comfort zone, but they're also new that I have either just gotten or bought in Berlin. The first one I bought in Berlin, or my mom bought me in Berlin, and it is Save Me an Orange. This is poems, and it's the cover alone is giving me spring and summer vibes, so I have no idea if this is actually anywhere like that. Also, I've never read like a gathering of poems or anything before, so I don't know if I'm supposed to just like sit down and read all of them and then count it towards my reading goal, or if I should like read one a day and make it like a not counting towards my reading goal. I do want to count it towards my reading goal, but is it the type where it's smarter to take it like slowly, or do I just sit down one day and binge through all of them? That is the question, but I do want to get through it spring, summertime. The other one I've seen so much about. Normally, I'm not a self-help book kind of person at all, but if you're on Book Talk, any kind of Book Talk or BookTube, you will have heard about this book no matter what. And that's the only reason I'm like, maybe I should read it, because people who don't normally read self-help have been reading this and loving it. It is, in fact, The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. I'm easily influenced, okay? I have listened to her podcast only because other people were talking about it. I started trying to do her morning and evening routine because other people told me to do it. So, I don't know what that says about me. But, The Let Them Theory is, like I said, a self-help books. It's literally about how you can change your life by implementing this theory she has, where you just say let them to everything, or not to everything. Obviously, I haven't read it yet, so I don't know what specifically it is, but it is this idea of not letting other people holding you back. So if they're going to judge you, let them. I'm very excited to read this because it does sound like something I would need to read. So, and then we move into something that is a lot of books that are more my typical reading style. First off, we have to knock a couple of my 2025 TBR that I know are summer books, or like in my head are some of the books, which I will be explaining it. The first one is Powerless by Elsie Silver. If you don't know, I put Heartless and Powerless by Elsie Silver on my 2025 TBR. I might end up reading the entire series. I'm currently in the middle of her Rose Hill series for other reasons, which I will mention in a future vlog. But this is the next one I'm at in the Chestnut Spring series, and in my brain, cowboy romance just fits to the spring summer vibe. This could take place during the winter time, and I would still think it should be read right now. I'm not even sure if any of these are a cowboy. I'm pretty sure it's actually an ice skater and a hockey player, but like it takes place in the. I'm gonna change my saying to say that small town romances are very summer spring to me, especially if they have cowboys in them. And normally Elsie Silver's books have cowboys in them, but it's probably still gonna be like taking place in the same small town, which is a cowboy kind of small town. Like I said, I'm not that sure what this is actually about. I've been kind of putting it off because I don't feel like I hear that much about this one. And if I do, I at least don't remember. It has been a while since the Chestnut Spring series was really big on TikTok, so that might just be it. But I do want to read this very soon too. And then another one on my 2025 TBR, believe it or not, You and Me on Vacation by Emily Henry. And I don't remember what the other name for this is. I know it changes names based on if it's UK or the US version. And I have no idea which one this is. But this is the only Emily Henry, except for another one we're going to talk about, that I have not read yet. And to me, Emily Henry just says summer. Even if her books weren't set in summer, I would read them in summertime. This is set in summer, though. It's Poppy and Alex. They hate each other, and or it takes place over a few summers. 12 summers ago, they hate each other, and they're pretty confident they'll never speak again. 11 summers ago, they're forced to share a ride together. And 10 summers ago, Alex discovers he's scared of flying. So basically, it's like they go from hating each other to becoming friends. And then a few summers ago, it went completely wrong. They stopped talking, and then Poppy asks Alex to join her on one last trip. Could this trip make them realize they're not just friends after all? So I would say it is a friends to strangers to lovers, except they're not strangers. They just stop talking for a little bit. And it's also being made into a movie with Tom Blythe and I don't remember. I need to look this up because I feel like I need to know or like remember at least. People We Meet on Vacation. That's the other name for it. Emily Bader and Tom Blythe is what I get is playing them. That was a total detour, but that's what I'm like. If I need to figure out something, it's the same thing with watching movies. Like I see a character, like an actor, and I'm like, oh, I know this person. I need to know from where, whatever. This obviously takes place in the summer on a vacation, and therefore I will probably try to push this until summertime, even though I really am excited. So if I do feel like reading it, I'll pick it up beforehand. And then we move into some just physical books I own that I think fit into the summer vibe or I just really want to read. One of these I actually started once and then I put it back. But The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. Now, I didn't DNF this. I technically did. But only because I started this a few days before Onyx Storm came out, and once Onyx Storm came out, I had to read that one. So, I didn't give this book a fair shot because all I could think about the last week until Onyx Storm came out was Onyx Storm. And therefore, I really want to pick this up soon while I still have, like, the first bit. I am going to just start from the beginning again. But as far as I remember, I really like this. So, the main character's husband has died in, like, the lake at this house, but she's famous, which is why she can even afford to have a house at this lake. And then she goes back to her real world and accidentally gets mixed up in some drugs and shit, so her mom sends her back to this lake house and tells her to stay there because she doesn't want her to be in, like, the public eye. And here she meets the woman who she saves the woman who lives in the house across the lake. And then she starts like using her time on just looking at them. So it's dual timeline. So we see her now after someone has disappeared, where the police is talking to her, and then we see her before, where she's like looking at this couple in the house across the lake. And if there's anything I've learned, it's great in a TBR to push a little thriller in there, at least one. And then we have another book which I actually haven't been seeing. I haven't seen it that much on TikTok. It was on sale last summer when I was on vacation. It is Something Wilder by Christina Lauren. Something Wilder by Christina Lauren. Now, like I said, I bought this during summertime, and because the cover looked very summery, and I didn't end up reading it last summer, and I haven't heard anything about this at all. I think I saw like one YouTube video where she mentioned it, but only because it was on her TBR. But I have read Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren a long time ago and remember really enjoying it. So when I saw this on sale for like no money, basically, I had to pick it up. And I think it's summary. Okay, so this is a second chance romance, which Love and Other Words was as well. And it's about one woman, Lily, who's a she lies about hunts and then like gives them to tourists in Utah. And then her ex Leo shows up because he really wants to reconnect with her, but she doesn't want that to happen. And they end up figuring out that there might be an actual treasure, and then everything kind of goes up into the air. I think. And I don't know why this gives me summer vibes, other than the fact that the cover kind of gives like beachy vibes. So I've always been thinking that this needs to be read in the summertime. And then, because like I said before, to me, summer and spring is cowboy romance. So, Lost and Lassoed by Lila Sage. This is the third book in the Rebel Blue Ranch series. The first ones were Done and Dusted and Swift and Saddled, which I remember liking them. They're the kind of cutesy romance books that I feel like I read and then I kind of forget about them. So, like I read them and then I rate them really highly because I had a really fun time reading them. But then when I think back on them, I don't remember what happens. It's an interconnected, standalone kind of series. This follows Teddy and Gus. And I'm pretty sure Gus is a single dad. They I remember them from the other books. They kind of really hate each other. She's this fiery redhead and he's kind of grumpy. So it's like they like to bug each other constantly, and she ends up helping him taking care of his daughter because he has to like for the summer he has to take care of her the entire summer and work on the farm and work on everything. So she ends up helping him, and then they fall for each other. Would be my best guess. And then finally, the last physical book of this video is in fact going to be The Pairing by Casey McQuiston. I bought this while I was in Berlin, or my mom bought me this while we were in Berlin. I mentioned it in a haul, and at where I actually mentioned it sounded like a summer read because Theo and Kit are they went from best friends to crushes to lovers, and then they broke up. So now 4 years later they get trapped on like a tour bus because they booked they always talked about booking this tour and never did it. So by accident they both book it the same summer, which is a tour bus that goes all the way around Europe. So it follows them going all the way around Europe. They make some kind of bet to try and get with the tour guide because he's attractive. And of course, I have a feeling they're going to end up getting back together in it. I love Casey McQuiston. This is her newest release, and it's not even that new anymore. It just took me a while to actually get myself together. But it's like the chapters have, as far as I could tell, the chapters introduce like a new place in Europe. So it follows them on a trip around Europe, which in my brain gives me summer. Okay, I feel like I'm talking a lot in this video and going maybe a little bit too much into detail, and I feel like I'm gonna hate myself once I have to edit this. But we're gonna keep going. I have a few rereads. As in, I have a series and a single book. So, first off, a series I've actually really been thinking about lately, and if I wasn't reading the Rose Hill series right now, I would probably have already started this. And that is, in fact, The Summer I Turned Pretty. And I'm talking about the entire series. I read these, I want to say or not like last summer, but last summer again. If I'm honest right now, I can't remember. I have put tabs, or I have picked out a tab I want to use for all three books. So, my plan is to reread and annotate all three of these, and I would like to do it soon, at least before the third and final season comes out. It is The Summer I Turned Pretty, It's Not Summer Without You, and We'll Always Have Summer. And I remember really liking these. I loved the series, and I read most of these really fast because they are short and fast. I remember It's Not Summer Without You. I read in one day and I kind of cried all the way through. But these are short and sweet. It's a love triangle. Belly goes to this house with her mom and where her mom's best friend lives, and she has had a crush on the eldest of her sons since forever, and then the youngest one kind of squeezes his way into the picture for some of it anyway. And if there's one thing you need to know about me, it is that I am in fact Team Conrad, and I will forever be Team Connie Baby. And the final one, which I just talked about in another video, I really want to reread Malibu Rising again this summer. I am in fact thinking about making this just like a goal every summer to just reread this. This summer, however, I want to reread and annotate this one as well. I've been getting really into annotating, and I finally got the right tools, right tabs and stuff. So I really want to do that. I think I've underlined a few things in here already, but I want to do it more like in depth. So those are the rereads. We're gonna move on to some Kindle books now. And like I said, these books are all on Kindle Unlimited. So let's just jump right into it. 7 Days in June. I actually bought this one before I had Kindle Unlimited, which tells you how long I've owned it on my Kindle without actually having read it. Last June, because I feel like it needs to be read in June because it's called 7 Days in June, I wanted to read it, and then all of a sudden June was over and I didn't feel like I could read it anymore. So, 7 Days in June, shortly told, is about two authors who used to be together once and then they broke up, and then years later they meet at an event. So, my guess would be that we then follow them over a week's event in June. And so they have to try and act like they don't know each other, but in reality they used to really love each other. And I've heard it's supposed to be really, really sad, which could also be a reason I pushed it a lot last summer. This summer, though, I'm all for sad books. So. And then don't ask me why this is on here, because I think I've seen it once and I was like, oh, I like that cover. So that's why it's on here. Six Summers to Fall by C.W. Farnsworth. From what I've understood, it's about two people. One of them is somewhere for the summer in Maine for her sister's wedding, and she runs into her longtime crush. And then I think for like 6 summers, which is 6 summers of all, for 6 summers they meet once a week and fake date. I think that's how I'm understanding it. It does sound kind of interesting, and I do think the cover is really cute and very summery, actually. Another one I've been wanting to read since forever, never got around to actually buying, and then I noticed it was on Kindle Unlimited. Mary Jane by Jessica Anya Blue. I'm pretty sure Sarah Caroli was the one who read this a few years back, actually, and talked a lot about it and made me really interested in it. It is a literary fiction, which I normally really love. And from what I remember, it's about Mary Jane, who's a young girl who ends up going to this other family to like nanny his kids. And then it's like she comes from this like perfect home where everyone's happy, and I'm pretty sure it's also like because it takes place in the 1970s, so there's also honestly I don't know what it's about. I don't know what it's about other than a young girl who like goes to babysit and gets introduced into this like whole new world. And I know that from what I remember hearing back then when Sarah talked about it, I got so intrigued and I haven't stopped thinking about it. So then we have The Summer of Broken Rules by K.L. Walter. And as far as I remember, K.L. Walter has a lot of books, but I think I've heard a bunch of mixed things about a lot of books. The Summer of Broken Rules is actually one of those I've heard a lot of great things about. So, in The Summer of Broken Rules, the main character uh, lost her sister not that long ago, and like you do when you lose somebody that close to you, she kind of shut down and shut everybody out. And now she's going to a wedding in the summertime, and she decides it's time for her to get back into the world. So the family apparently plays this game called Assassin every summer, so she decides to join and makes an alliance with one of the groomsmen, who she apparently turns out to like a little bit more than she was expecting. And then this one, again, it is one I saw in a bookstore a couple of summers ago and didn't get, and then figured out it was on Kindle Unlimited, so I decided to save it and maybe read it this summer. So, in this book, again, takes place over a summer. The main character meets a guy, she really likes him, she thinks they're falling in love, and then it turns out he was using her to write a romance book because he's been struggling with writing his next romance book. So at first she's kind of mad, and then she decides to actually help him out. So she ends up spending the summer helping him and his editor, which makes me question if this is a love triangle or if it's going to be like a spin and it's actually the editor that's the love interest. I'll figure it out once I read it, but she ends up spending the summer helping them learn how to get a girl, or like how to like be romantic, I guess is more accurate to say. Okay, the last book on Kindle is Cruel Summer by Morgan Elizabeth. I've read a bunch of Morgan Elizabeth's Christmas books and loved them. So I thought it was finally time to read another type of her book, and I thought, why not a summer book? Oh, if I remember correctly, I have read, like, I think there's a Christmas book in the same interconnected series. It's about a group of friends who love revenge, basically. But this year, she's going to be working during the summer as a at a beach club, and then she decides to make a pact with her friends that she's going to be more open and get to know a lot more people, and then some mean girls show up and start trying to make her life living hell, so she strikes up a kind of deal workmanship or something with a hot bartender who works at the bar across the street. From my understanding, like I said, I try to like read what they're about and then translate it, but sometimes that's hard to do. Like shorten kind of thing. But those were in fact the Kindle books. And then I have 4 new releases that I know I'm gonna buy and read before summer's over. We have Hunger Games, Sunrise at the Reaping, which is the newest Hunger Games book that comes out March 18th, I think. I don't know when I'm gonna get around to buying it because I'm pretty sure my mom's gonna have to order it with another book. So I'm gonna wait until that one comes out. Then we have Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry, which is Emily Henry's newest release. I'm not gonna say what these are about because I'm not 100% sure. and I don't really want to read that much about them. These are the kind of books where I'm like, I'm ready to just jump into you guys because I trust these authors so much. Because the other one is Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid, one of my favorite authors at all time. And while I still have some books I haven't read by her, I have a feeling this one is really going to be the type of book by her that I really love. And last but not least, we have Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. I actually also have another Abby Jimenez book I might read. It's the Never After playlist, something like that. But I know for a fact I will be reading her new release because I have read a bunch of books by her that I really loved. But after 30 minutes of yapping, those are all the books that I really, really want to get to during this spring or summertime. Comment down below if you have read any of these and what you thought of them. Any top books you really want to get to this summer or spring. And if you have any books you think I should add to this TBR, let me know too. If I don't already own them physically, please let them be on Kindle Unlimited because I do not have the money to go out and buy a bunch of other books. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a like, subscribe, turn on the bell notification so you get notified every single time I post, which I try to do every single Saturday, but sometimes it fluctuates. I do try to post at least once a week for now. So, without further ado, I will see you all next week.